Welcome to Business Connection. I'm Liz Spencer. We have a wonderful guest in studio. It's Dr. Jess Enderby, and she's a chiropractor with Phoenix Chiropractic. Welcome.
Thank you.
So Jess, tell me a little bit about how you got involved with all this.
So I got into chiropractic at a pretty young age. I got to see it firsthand with a family member, and then when I got to undergrad, I was trying to decide, which route I wanted to do in the medical field, and this kind of just steered me in the direction of becoming a chiropractor.
That's wonderful. Now, you have a lot of experience with athletes, so tell me a little bit about that.
So I treat a lot of different athletes. Anybody from, I have some Olympic athletes, some professional, elite. I have anything to all the way to the weekend warrior, and yeah.
It's fun, yeah. But you're also, wanting to and are accessible to everyday people like me, and I kind of consider myself a weekend warrior.
Yeah, we need those.
You need those, and we all need a good chiropractor. Tell me a little bit about the type of chiropractic medicine you practice.
Okay, so I went to Palmer, and we did, Gonstead, diversified flexion distraction, all the things that you typically all see. Then I went on to do extended studies in chiropractic biophysics, which is abbreviated CBP, and with that we can do what's called structural rehab. So basically we're fixing your posture and how things are supposed to, quote unquote, be, so that we can prevent injuries and treat current injuries. And
that to me is the secret of chiropractic medicine, is that we come in and we've got a hip problem with that, but then we find out we haven't been walking right or sitting right, and that is so important, because most of us just think you're going to crack our back and make us better.
Right, which I wish I was magic and could do that. Yeah. It takes a little bit of work to get to that point.
Well, and tell me about some of the other types of, you mentioned the athletes, but the everyday people who might need a chiropractor. What types of typical maladies do they come in with?
They come in with, so a lot of people I see come in with a headache and low back pain, knee pain, things like that. So with headaches, a lot of times what I see is that, for being, in this day and age where we're texting all day or we're sitting at a computer, what happens is we roll our shoulders forward and everything gets pulled. So what that does is you have a muscle that attaches from the back of your head to your shoulders to your mid-back, and what that happens when you sit like this is it pulls everything forward, so it's this constant pull on your neck, on your head, like where it inserts, and then it can also affect shoulders and everything like that.
I always find it fascinating that I may come in and say, oh, it's my hip, and I find out, oh, it's really my back.
Right.
Or I come in and my neck hurts, and, it's really a knee injury I had years ago.
Yep, I see that all the time.
Because the body is so intricately put together.
Yep, everything works together.
Everything works together. So tell me a little bit about, you also help with diet and fitness. So I would think that would be a natural fit with you.
Yes, I love it. So fitness and diet. So fitness, when you come into my office, what I do is I do basically a functional exam on you. So I see, how you do, a squat, how you do just range of motion in general, and I attribute that back to the exercises that we need to figure out what you should be doing at the gym, so you're not just guessing. Some of my patients, I even will go to the gym and show them how to do things, so I'll take them to where I go and teach them how to use some of the things, but I also do have personal trainers that I can send people to, so depending on what your goals are, I'll kind of pick and choose where I think would be a better fit. And then diet, I don't do any diets or weight loss or anything, but I do teach you the tools you do need to hit those goals. So I always rope those into general health. So with diet, I will teach you what foods you should start to incorporate and little things you can take away. I also put on these little events called Shop with a Doc, so you can come.
I want to go shop with you.
So you can come and I can show you, what ingredients you should look for and stay away from, and what you should buy organic, what you shouldn't, because I think everything's always changing and we never know, what's the right thing now.
Right. Well, and so many things are changing, and that's where I think it's nice to have you have to keep up with it, even in chiropractic technique. I mean, we see people walking around with tape on and all this, and cupping in the Olympics, and we wonder, was that something that would help me?
Yep.
And so it's best to kind of just go have you figure all that out.
Right. That's my job.
That's your job, right?
Yep.
We won't play it on the side there. And what's your age range of who sees a chiropractor?
I see everyone from babies to, 90, 100-year-old patients. So I would say I mostly treat middle-aged people to, 20, 30, 40, 50. But I do see the latter ends as well.
That's great. Because I think a lot of us, especially when we pass that midlife mark, and we're athletic, we find ourselves limping or having because our youth, which has compensated for our body for so long, is now needing some help. Would that be a fair statement?
Yes, your body's catching up to you.
It is. Well, and that's where I think a chiropractic relationship helps. So if someone wants to come in but they're not quite sure what they need, but they want to come in and talk to you, is that someone you welcome?
Yeah, I have people who actually sometimes will just stop in to say hi, like, hey, I saw on Facebook, you posted something on nutrition or you posted a workout, and I just had a couple of questions, and I'll explain that. Like, I see those things all the time.
Right, because I think it's important, and you are just so approachable, to have a good relationship with your doctor.
Agreed. I think that's the only way you're going to hit the goals you want to hit.
Well, that's the only way I think you're going to also share and tell the truth to your doctor, because I think a lot of people kind of, I hate to say, lie to their doctor because they don't want them to know that they're eating poorly, or my foot really does hurt, but I was stupid and I twisted it, so I'm going to tell you something else.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I see a lot of stuff on X-ray when I'm looking at X-rays and I'm like, I'm surprised you don't have this going on, and then they're like, oh, well, I do. Like, just the other day I was saying, this girl came in and she was saying that she had low back pain, and then sometimes she gets headaches. It's just a normal headache, and I was like, headaches are common, they're not normal. So anyways, I was going through it, and I was like, we looked at her curve in her neck, and it told me all these things, obviously, because everything tells me something when we do the exam and when I look and I compare the X-rays. And I was like, I'm surprised you don't have numbness and tingling in your hands. And she's like, oh, I do. And she's like, I didn't know you could help with that. I was like, yeah, absolutely, we can help with that.
Well, it's true. I don't think we spend enough time talking to our doctors.
Agreed.
Because they're busy and we're hesitant, and that when we first come into you as a new patient, do you do a full set of X-rays? Is that something that is standard for you, so you can take a look at what we got going on?
Yes, because I do the structural rehab, I have to see exactly what's going on, because something could be muscular, it could be structural, so I just need to know if a PT is where you should be or with me is where you need to be.
And so with that structural rehab and that, so you mentioned PT, you can work with a variety of people. You work with my physical therapist, my trainer, you recommend a trainer, you are you kind of get me all pointed in the right direction.
Yep, my goal is to get your health goals checked off.
That's awesome. Jess, thanks for stopping by and sharing all that you do with us. You're a wealth of information, so we thank you for that. We're going to be right back with more Business Connections. Stay tuned. Interested in a television appearance on Business Connection as a way to reach out to your community or to gain exposure for your company, contact NCTV17 at 630-355-2124. I'm Liz Spencer, and thank you for watching Business Connection.
This episode of Business Connection is brought to you in part by presenting sponsor DuPage Credit Union.
Welcome to this edition of Great Books, a lively discussion of a selection from the canon of exceptional literature. Here's your host, Jack Hatfield.
Welcome. Thanks for joining us for the Great Books Show. I'm Jack Hatfield. Our panel meets periodically to discuss great works of classic and modern literature. The selection being discussed today is the first chapter of Alfred North Whitehead's Modes of Thought. Jake will introduce the work. Jake?
Alfred North Whitehead was one of the exceptional minds of the first half of the 20th century. In 1910, with his pupil Bertrand Russell, he published Principia Mathematica, a treatise on the logical foundations of mathematics. This work was named by a blue ribbon panel as the 23rd most important scholarly work of the 20th century. Whitehead was born in 1861 on the Kentish coast southeast of London into the home of a Church of England vicar. He began his academic career as a Fellow of Trinity College in Cambridge. Whitehead moved to the University of London in 1910 and there began transitioning from pure mathematics to the area of philosophy of science, where he produced a number of notable works, including the widely known Science in the Modern World. Professor Whitehead came to the United States and Harvard University in 1924 and died in Cambridge, Massachusetts in 1948. At Harvard, at the age of 63, he transitioned again into metaphysics and cosmology. It is from this period of his thought that our discussion of his chapter titled Importance is drawn. This piece is the first of a series of lectures collected in the book Modes of Thought, originally published in 1938. Whitehead believed that reality consisted of organic processes within processes, all interrelated and overlapping. These processes are the basis on which human experience, conscious and otherwise, becomes an ongoing center of integrated and novel freedom. Whitehead suggests in tonight's reading that we consider importance as an ultimate notion underlying our impulse to create the various modes and subgeneralities of thought which guide our planning and acting.
I thought we'd start by talking what I think is one of the central theme pulling everything together in this selection is the modes of importance and matter of fact. Maybe we could discuss exactly what each one means and also how they interact or don't interact together. So importance, what's he really trying to get at here when he makes that distinction?
Between matter of fact and importance?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I'm not sure about the distinction. Because I think I had a little bit of difficulty. This was just the beginning of my difficulties, grasping what matter of fact was. I mean, he talks about it on page 9 of my edition, saying, matter of fact is the notion of mere existence. But when we seek to grasp this notion, it distinguishes itself into the subordinate notions of the various types of existences, for example, fanciful or actual and many other types. Thus, the notion of existence involves the notion of an environment of existences and of types of existences. Which sounded to me, and he goes on and talks about things, that a matter of fact is an abstraction from a continuous stream of events. And that in terms of distinguishing it from importance, just as a matter of fact, it has one abstraction from that stream has no greater or lesser, intrinsic lesser importance than any other abstraction from that stream, just at that level.
Right.
Then the notion of importance then is layered on top of that. That's the closest I could get to it.
Well, importance is there at that primary level of experience. And there can be various kinds of importance, although it's going to be part of everything. It's part of what drives a gradation of your feelings as you move from just pure matter of fact, which he considers abstraction. You know, that's just a form. There's hardly anything else, and you haven't decided what you're going to focus on. Mm-hmm. And he's moving you from, with his
importance.
Well, you inherit a lot from the past. I mean, that's how you get I mean, those are very complex things, your views about different kinds of religions or whatever, you know. He's talking about just one individual consciousness and how the universe impinges on that one consciousness and what it is that flavors how you interpret it.
I don't think, well, first of all, I think he places a lot of emphasis on the present time that consciousness is operating. Back in the Middle Ages, it would